Do you know about the origin of the city of Braavos? In A Song of Ice and Fire? Braavos is the youngest, wealthiest, and likely the most powerful in the 9 free cities of Essos. Freedom is essential to the Braavosi, as their city was founded by escaped slaves and fugitives from a large convoy of slave ships on its way from Valyria to the newly established colony in Sothorios. The slaves rebelled, killed the sailors who held them in bondage, and seized control of the ships, fleeing to the far ends of the earth to escape the Valyrians. Legends claim that a group of slave women from the distant land of Jogosnai prophesied where they would find shelter. In a remote lagoon behind a wall of pine-clad hills and sea stone, where the frequent fogs would help to hide the refugees from the eyes of dragon riders passing overhead. They were proved correct, and these women were priestesses called moon singers, and the Temple of the Moon Singers is the greatest in Braavos. Braavos holds many escaped slaves from many lands who held many faiths and traditions. The Braavosi created a place where all of them lived at peace with one another. Diverse people from the Andals, the Summer Islands, Giscari, Nathi, Roinar, Ibanese, Sarnori, and even Valyrians who were enslaved for their crimes found a home in Braavos. These diverse people had many diverse skill sets. Some were bed slaves, others trained in arms, many household slaves, tutors, cooks and nurses, carpenters and blacksmiths, sailors, stonemasons and fishermen. They used their skills to build a city that they could call their own, promising that no man, woman, and child would ever be a slave. And since they had many languages, they used the language of their former masters. The place the Braavosi settled in was rich with fish and shellfish of all sorts and thinly forested. But more crucially, the lagoon was remote and little visited, and above all, the slaves feared recapture, and the settlement seemed perfect. And they grew prosperous. Farms, homes, and temples sprouted across the island. The Braavosi even discovered a certain snail that yielded dark purple dye. They used this dye to paint their stolen ships to change their look. Taking care to avoid Valyrian ships, the Braavosi began to trade with Ibensei and later the Seven Kingdoms. Thus, for more than a century, Braavos became known as the Secret City. This was until the Sea Lord of Braavos, Uthero, ended the secrecy, sending forth ships dyed in dark purple to every corner of the world to proclaim its existence, in what became known as the uncloaking or the unmasking of the Uthero. He invited men of all nations to celebrate the 111th anniversary of the city's founding. However, by this time, the Dragon Lords of Valyria seemed to care little and less for the city of slaves across the world. Despite its humble beginnings, Braavos has become the wealthiest and impregnable of the free cities. Though Volantis may have its black walls, Braavos has a wall of ships such as no other, and the Titian of Braavos to keep guard.